Welcome back to the channel. We're here today for one that is probably not going to appeal to a ton of people, but I think it will be very important to the people it does appeal to. What we're going to do today is we're going to put this full-size optical drive, that's a full-size 5¼ inch Blu-ray drive, in this full-size optical drive external USB enclosure. So we're going to make us the biggest Mac Daddy of them all as far as external USB optical drives go. I am fully aware that drives like this one in my hand here exist and that they are pretty cheap. I think this one was under 30 bucks. What they also are is not very good. When I say that, I mean they're usually not very durable. They may not be the best performing. You're going to spend a little more than $30 on one if you want Blu-ray, which that one is a Blu-ray drive. So just generally speaking, all this stuff here is just a better way to go than this. And the reason I think that's important is because as more time passes, getting decent quality drives is going to become harder and harder. So if you're going to go through the trouble of investing in any USB drive, you may as well make it one that's pretty good if you're invested enough in optical technology that you're even worried about it at all. With all that said, even what you're looking at here wasn't all that terribly expensive. I think there are only two different enclosures available on the market that are both of any kind of quality. They both go in and out of stock all the time, everywhere they're sold, Amazon or Newegg or wherever. And this just happened to be the one that was in stock the day I wanted to buy one. This one also happens to be just a little less expensive than the other one, but I think they're probably both fine. I will link them both down in the description. As far as an optical drive, it's a dealer's choice kind of world, but I've always had pretty good luck with LG drives. This one happens to be UHD capable as well, with some tweaking and stuff we probably won't get into in this video, but it's a pretty good drive. As of December 2022 pricing, I'll probably have about 130 bucks in this whole thing, versus about 30 for one of these, or if I wanted one of these in Blu-ray, about 100. So it's a little more money, but it's not the end of the world, and I think we'll get a much better product at the end of it. And I think it's important to strike while there's still an iron to strike, because this stuff is just not going to be available for sale that much longer. This is a technology that's dying. With all that out of the way, let's just get down to it. I don't think it's going to be any big deal. I'm expecting this to just be, a drive bay that you screw one of these into. We'll see. So I have not, as of yet, opened this guy. So you can learn as much as I'm going to learn at the same time. I'll fess up, this drive I already had. I've temporarily pulled it out of not a Dell. So we got some instructions I'm hoping we don't really need, although it looks like we might. Power adapter. A drive this large is unlikely to be able to run just over USB power, so I saw that one coming. Enclosure itself, USB cord, trinkets. I don't think there's going to be a big mystery here. I hate to do it, but I am going to refer to the instructions for a second. Well, I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but there's no step 1. The instructions start at 2A. So, whatever. Anyway, it looks pretty straightforward. It looks like when you get it, the screws are just out of the back. And this is an aluminum shell. And the top comes off, and the bottom is clipped in. Okay, so this is going to be pretty straightforward. It's like we slide our drive in. Wow, and this is the first. I've never seen an optical drive installation where you use the bottom screws. Frankly, I wasn't even fully aware that there were bottom screws on optical drives until just right now. But that is what we're going to do, and get our screws in our drive. I assume that was part of what was in the trinkets kit. The trinkets kit comes with a really tiny screwdriver. I'm going to furnish my own with just a little bit better grip. And a very small amount of fidgeting later, have all 4 in. Drive is looking pretty good. Now I want to take our back cover and just plug the SATA connections in. Pretty literally impossible to screw up. You just want the little legs going down to match what the drive is doing. And it looks like to get that guy so the text is up, we actually need to put a twist in the wires. See how I feel about that. I don't feel good about that at all. My writing is going to probably remain upside down, I think, because I think that's a better packaging situation than twisting them. So now put the top cover on. And there are holes in both of the panels to hold it on. And it looks like all of the goodie bag screws are all exactly the same, which is nice. So you don't have to keep anything in any particular order when you're screwing things together. It does take just a little bit of fidgeting to get the screw holes lined up. I will repeat, this thing is aluminum, so you want to be careful with the screw holes or you can pretty easily strip them out. Like right there, in fact. I'm working on it. You can see that screw just went wonky on me. That's what you don't want to do. So if something starts getting tight, stop. And it looks like on this one, this front bezel just really needs to be pushed back a good bit. It's just a pretty tight fitment there. Now we should be able to just tuck our back on. I'm hoping it's, yeah, I can put it on upside down if I choose, which I do. The holes line up pretty well. Moderately disturbed that they seem to have given me way too many screws, but I guess that's better than not enough. It does give me an opportunity to give into my laziness and not pick up the ones I'm dropping as I go. Alrighty, there we go, all installed. Pretty nice looking assembly, if not a little bit chunky. They included these little rubber feet that you can stick into little places on the case. I'm tempted not to do it because it seems like these things never stay stuck on anyway, but for the sake of the video. And these actually do seem to be pretty grippy. And there the handsome devil is in all its glory, assembled with feeties. Let's get a computer out and see how the thing's gonna work. Hopefully it does work. Here we have our HP TE01 2250 XT, which has no optical drive. How serendipitous. Let's get that guy fired up, make sure this works, and then we may do a thing or two between this and the DVD drive just for the fun of it. So this guy does have a power switch in the back. I'm gonna turn him on first. Oh, there we can see we've got drive power. Kick this guy on, and we'll see if we detect any new hardware or anything like that. Kind of don't think we will. I don't think optical drives really do that so much. Yeah, it doesn't really look like it. Let's see if it's just down here. Yep, right there. Ooh, fancy. Alrighty, let's have some fun. Here I have my purchased copy of Interstellar, and here I have my completely legal backup copy of it. The reason we have to use a backup is because of the encrypted sectors on commercially produced discs. This disc does not have those. That is a topic for a different day, and probably for a different channel. So here what we're going to do is we are just going to grab those files as files. We're just going to move them right to the desktop, and we're just going to see how long it takes, just as a fun thing to do. So that took 5 minutes and 27 seconds. Let's get rid of those dudes. While we are here, we're going to run Nero Speed Disk. I've never run this before, but it's a disk drive benchmark, so I thought it would be fun to give it a shot. Got the same disk in it right now. I guess just run test. We'll go with all. Alright, so I think our test is complete. One problem we're going to have with our other drive is that this does a tray cycle and times it. The recognition time from eject to closed and reading a disk again was 9.74 seconds. That's simply a test we won't be able to do with the other drive because it has no mechanism on its own to close. I have to be the human involved. Alright, so I've educated myself a small amount to know what I'm looking at here. Speed is pretty self-explanatory. Higher numbers are better. Random access times, lower numbers are better. CPU usage sort of threw me for a loop because I did not expect 2x to go up to 44%, but for whatever reason it did. I would expect these to be linear as the drive goes faster, just a little more CPU required to keep up with them. But during this test, whatever reason, it did that. Burst rate, higher number is better. And really, that's about all you really need to know. I'm not so much interested in the numbers of one drive versus the other. I'm just interested in how much the numbers change between drives. Our Blu-ray drive right here is advertising a maximum speed with a DVD plus R, which is what we have in it, of 16x. You can see we actually did pretty good overall. So 12x average, well, about 12x average is actually quite good. The other drive we're going to try advertises 8x max, so it'll be interesting to see what's about to happen. So now I've got our other guy plugged into the same USB port that guy was plugged into, and using its own included cord. We'll try our tests again and see what happens. Same disk. Not sure if I mentioned it earlier, but neither of these drives created this disk. So neither one should be any more happy or sad than the other about reading it. All right, and there it is. Same thing as before, straight to the desktop. Holy crap, that took 4 freaking forevers, or 19 minutes and 38 seconds. That took, what, almost 4 times as long? Good grief. Slow. Let's fire up Nero. Gonna do the same thing as before. Off it goes. Oh my good grief. I knew this drive would be slower. I did not expect it this bad of a result. I'll put these side by side for you so you can study them if you want, but holy cow. And there you have it. I didn't really set out to make a shootout between these two things, because these two things are really not as much like each other as you might think. And I knew this guy would be a better performer, but holy crap, I didn't realize just how much better. So that factored in with just the inherent durability of having a full-size drive versus one of these little puny guys. For me, it's just a hands-down winner. That if you are still one of the dinosaurs that are investing in optical media and you have a large collection like I do as a dinosaur myself, you pretty much at this point have to gear up for the long haul and get your ducks in a row, or else your ducks are just going to be gone. So if you're in that boat, I suggest you go this way, because more and more new computers are just coming without these things. As far as the enclosure goes, these things are so simple, I think it'd be hard to screw one up. So whichever of the two linked down in the description is either in stock or cheaper is probably an okay thing to do. Drives, I will link two. I will link this exact one, which is UHD 4K Blu-ray capable, with some caveats, and I will link one that is just outright branded 4K. There's about a 40% price difference between the two right now, but one's kind of plug and play, one isn't. I wouldn't suggest screwing around with like a DVD drive or a CD-ROM or anything like that at this point. Just go straight to a Blu-ray drive. The price savings really isn't justified versus the capability. Anyway, I'm confident this video is now firmly in the land of rambling. That is all I have for this one. I thank you for stopping in to watch it, and we'll catch you on the next one.